Hi everyone, I thought I'd do a quick video kind of introducing myself because I realised I haven't, and I'm just expecting you to watch the videos and assume that I have some idea about what I'm talking about. So probably not my favourite topic. I'd far rather talk about the rats. In fact, I'll probably verge on the rats later as they come and visit me. I'll introduce you to them. So me, who am I? My name is Gemma Fettis. I am by occupation a mechanical engineer, which I do enjoy. I work in manufacturing, which suits me very well. For a long time I've been very lucky to be an owner of rats. It's now, I think it must be about 33 years now since I first started owning rats, and I've got to say they've done a really good job of bringing me up, because I was only 5 when I had my first rats, and they were brilliant. Best Christmas present ever. It actually started with me and my baby brother having, we had a rabbit. The rabbit was a little bit too strong for us. It knew to tell the little kids that were bothering it when to kind of go away and leave it alone. So we got kicked a few times and bitten a few times and probably thoroughly deserved them. And Mum realised that we'd benefit from a pet that we could kind of really interact with ourselves. We had goldfish. You can't really interact with goldfish. Attempts at interacting with the goldfish is not favourable for the goldfish. So my mum and dad had been watching Blue Peter and came up with the great idea of getting us pet rats. And so one Christmas many years ago, me and my brother got the best Christmas present ever. And in fact, it's one of my earliest memories. I remember getting them. They were in a little light bulb box which had like small slats in the box. I just remember seeing this little pink nose poke through and being mesmerised, and I still am, to be honest, by them today. I can just sit and watch them and be around them very happily for a long time. They're still fascinating to me. So it started then, and for many years I kept just a couple of girls or boys. Back then there wasn't much information available about rats. My parents did the best they could, but there wasn't really, well, there wasn't an internet, or if it was, it wasn't being used by the public. There wasn't much in the way of books around either, so we kept a couple of rats in a glass tank with a topper. We were ahead of our time, and branches, which I still have adorning my cage now. And actually, I think because there was no rat food available, we fed them on a mix of rabbit food and parrot food, which isn't actually hugely dissimilar to what I feed today in some respects. So some stuff's changed massively. Some stuff I've decided was a bad idea and then changed, and it's become a good idea as I've learned more and things have gone on. So it's been really quite interesting. So as well as being a kind of long-time rat owner, I also breed rats under the rattery name Isamu Rats, which you may have figured out from my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. I've been breeding now for about 7 years. I started because I fell in love with a particular line of rats bred by Shunammite rats, actually, Alison, who I've learnt an awful lot off, and I just fell for the temperament, and there's just something about them. I got a rat from, not directly from her, but from her line, and it just transformed my life. It was a real heart rat. And then I decided I wanted to breed, but it was completely impractical because I only kept boys, which is a challenge when you're trying to breed rats. But with some help of some friends, we got around that, and I bred a few litters from does that were lent to me, and it worked out. And eventually I decided it would make more sense to keep girls. It would make it an awful lot easier. So I started my lovely group of girls, which I've got now, and had for probably about 4 or 5 years now, different relations. And that's made a real kind of positive, made it a lot easier to breed, if I'm entirely honest. Though I don't keep books because I'm a little bit unusual for a breeder, because I don't have a lot, I work quite long hours, so I don't have a lot of free time, and I feel I can get a lot more out of them as one group. They're very much my pets first, and the breeding is something that I want to do because it can help me hopefully improve rats, and I can breed for healthier, friendly, typey kind of rats that live good long lives. So that's why I breed, but it's the joy of owning rats, which is why I keep the rats in the first place, so I don't want to lose that, otherwise I lose something special. So in those kind of 30 odd years I've been keeping rats, I probably first started really learning them properly, I'd say about 15-20 years ago when I discovered the online fancy, and it was really good. I mean, I found a book earlier than that. Actually, the book was probably about 20 years, and then the online fancy came a little bit after that. That taught me an awful lot. And the first proper rat book that I read, which was great, and taught me about cages. My first cage when I was 15. But then from then, the online rat fancy, I discovered one summer working on in an internship and being bored out of my mind because they didn't give me any work to do. So I learnt loads from that. Discovered the Rat Guide, great website if you want to find health information. I often use that for dosages and such. And I discovered that there was such thing as an online rat community. I discovered a great forum called Fancy Rats Forum was all the rage then, so I learnt a lot from there, spent a lot of years around there. And then I discovered the real life rat fancy, which is great in the UK. It's a really strong fancy. Started discovering showing, got my first breeder rats, which were lovely, lovely boys. And actually that experience of getting my first breeder rats, I was used to rats that you have to work to bond with. I got my breeder boys home and they were already my friends. Within a week we were like best mates. Whereas with the pet shop rats I'd had before and the rescues that I'd had after that, I had to work with them to make them trust me and to understand that I was actually worth the effort. Breeder rats, if they're from the right kind of breeder, already know that, so it was lovely. That actually probably contributed me to wanting to breed as well, give other people that experience. I started getting involved in the showing world, and then didn't take me long because I have an inability to not get involved in things, to get on my first committee. So I was on the committee for the Yorkshire Rat Club for a while, and then I joined the North of England Rat Society committee as well. And to be honest, I found my home in NERS, as we call it. It's definitely my club. I've done a lot of roles in there now. I'm currently chair. I've done Petrage's training coordinator, fun events, treasurer. I'm not good at maths. This is not a strong job, particularly for somebody who's dyslexic, which I am. But I got to do a spreadsheet and I really like spreadsheets, so that made me happy. So I've been in NERS now on the committee for, must be about getting on towards 10 years, if not already 10 years. Very much my kind of people, and I love the shows there and their kind of pet focus as well as the breeding focus and varieties focus. So that's kind of set me up in terms of the physical thing. I go along to I try and get along to every club show at least once a year, though I go to all of NERS ones because it's in the job description, I think. And I also kind of have a strong online presence, so if any of you on Facebook, I set up the group Rat Care UK with some brilliant people that put up with me, that I stole from other places like NERS and like Fancy Rats Forum, which I used to spend a lot of time, and definitely couldn't do it without them, just to try and give people a group that valued kind of good advice and experience a little bit more, because a lot of the Facebook groups, it becomes quite nasty at times, to be honest, and it's either you're allowed to give any advice under the sun regardless of if it doesn't agree with kind of good ethical practices, or you're not allowed to say anything if you're not kind of qualified in some way or an administrator. And hopefully we get the balance right, but we probably don't sometimes too. I also have my Facebook page and my Rat Care website, which is all part of Isamu, rats.co.uk. One day I will separate it so that my breeding stuff's separate from all the rat care stuff, but for now it's easy to do it the way it is because I only have to maintain a couple of things and I'm pretty bad at maintaining those as it is. So that's my main history. I've been kind of actively involved online, I've been involved face to face. I tend to get around a bit. If you ever come along to a NERS show, I'm probably going to be there and people can point me out. I do get involved a little bit beyond the UK fancy as well. I do find it fascinating learning about how the fancies do things, and there is a lot of difference actually when you start getting into, let's say, how America deal with some things, or Germany or so on, which is interesting, though I still think ours are based in best because I'm part of the fancy and that's what's brought me up and taught me stuff. So currently in terms of rats, I have 7 girls. They are exploring at the moment, so I will see. I think my oldest girl has shown herself here. So this is Monster. She's an agouti. She was bred here. She currently has a slightly bald belly. she's a lovely rat, really friendly, really licky. I never bred from her because she's always had an underlying health problem for kind of quite a while. I couldn't quite suss, but we had a lot of blood tests done recently, which is why she's sporting a slightly bald belly, and discovered that her kidneys aren't quite working right. So she's definitely pet first, and she's never going to be used for breeding. But she lives a very happy life, and she currently runs my cage with an iron rod. She's been telling Chocobo, who's a little bit of a naughty so-and-so, what to do. So Monster was one of Diddy's daughters, if you remember Diddy from my pituitary tumour video. And this is Diddy's other daughter. So Diddy had 2 litters. Monster was her first litter, and this is Elle, or Isamu Elemental. They all have show names. I should add that Monster's show name is Honey Monster, Isamu Honey Monster. So Elemental is kind of a very calm, strong character. It's quite interesting about her and Monster being sisters, because they're very different in personality, and yet Ellie's daughter that I've got, whenever she shows her face, is much more like Monster. So it's really interesting that Ellie is such a kind of more calm, slightly less naughty. She's the responsible adult in the cage. Kind of wish she was Elf in a lot of respects, but Monster does a really good job actually, so I do appreciate her. Ellie's given me a litter. She won't give me another one because, while she did quite enjoy raising a litter, and did a very good job of it, her milk supply wasn't great, so I don't really want to kind of breed lots of litters from a rat whose milk isn't amazing. I'm just going to have to go and retrieve a rat of some description, because usually they're all swarming me, as you saw they were earlier. Now they're currently chasing each other around the floor. I think somebody's on heat, and they really love chasing rats that are on heat, so I'll see who I can catch. We have 2. So these 2 actually, it's good that they come together. There's 2 of my younger rats. This is Muggle, who you see features in a lot of videos because she's naughty, and Chocobo. Now both these rats were bred by my partner rattery, Lovecraft. We're quite unusual in some respects with just how close we work together. Our rats are basically very closely related, and basically we're kind of best mates, and we share a lot of things in rats as well. So Muggle is a black Dumbo. She's a lovely girl. She's this rat. The first time I met her, though, I really wanted, I was impulse. I don't often impulse get rats, but she was. I really wanted a black rat. I'd had agoutis and topazes for a long time, which is what I breed for, so you know it makes sense. And I just really missed having a black rat in my cage. At least I had a few litters, and I just decided I was going to have a black rat. And she'd had a litter with a couple black Dumbos in, and it's been, again, I had very few Dumbos at the time, so it's like, oh, could I have a black Dumbo? Yeah. But she didn't know which one of the 2 that were born I would pick, or 2 girls I should add. And I just went and I picked up Muggle, and I just knew it was her, and she just looked at me with her little soulful eyes, and I fell for her. And it's amusing because she hadn't really stood out from a temperament point of view until I met her, and then she's now widely acknowledged by anybody that meets her as being an awesome rat. She's not only kind of won varieties a couple times now, she's won pets too, and she's just one of those rats that you can't ignore Muggle. She's got a presence about her, so I absolutely adore her. I'm very lucky. Her full name, which is one of my more amusing show names, and I do apologise to all show secretaries that have to write this down on rosettes or cards, is Lovecraft Good King Muggle the 12th, which is after a Final Fantasy character. I just really like that name. And that also links with Chocobo, who has now run off again because she got bored because I wasn't doing anything. Chocobo is a cinnamon Dumbo. I'll just go and catch her again. Come on, Trouble. The problem with moving in here is you get rats attached to your legs, so I also now have Fing because she decided to attach herself to me. So Chocobo is cinnamon, so in fact this is a good idea. If you see, there's a slight difference in colour between Fing on this side and Chocobo here. Cinnamon is basically agouti plus mink, so it lightens the top colour slightly. Chocobo is also a Dumbo, which is on the side of her head. She's a lovely, insanely licky and slightly insane girl, full stop. Very typical of the mental temperament I do actually really enjoy owning, even if she's a bit hard work at times because she doesn't stop. she has quite a simple show name. It's Lovecraft Chocobo, but it's also a Final Fantasy character, and because I got her a bit after I got Muggle Mog, it just felt right to have my 2 Lovecraft rats as Final Fantasy ones. I doubt I'll carry on the title because there's not as many good names, but she's a lovely little bouncy girl. She comes from a bit of a miracle litter, actually. I'm sure I'll talk a little bit about it when I do something on genetics or breeding or something. But statistically, her litter should have been at most 25% mink or cinnamon, so it could have been either. Her litter was 100%, it was only 4 rats to be fair, 100% mink or cinnamon. Just after myself and Lisa, we thought we'd lost mink and cinnamon forever. You know, it had gone, and then she had this litter of 4, which we couldn't figure out for a while whether they were cinnamon and mink. We thought they were really, really odd, pale agoutis, and there was something wrong with them, and actually it turned out that we'd got this thing back that we've been trying to chase for a while, so we're really pleased. So Chocobo's with me, and her sister and 2 brothers live with Lisa, and I suspect they'll be making us babies at some point. Muggle Mug definitely will be making me babies, hopefully soon, and I will do a bit of a video about that, try and track the journey for you. So, next rat that I can catch. So I've got Fing back. She'd run off and gone to the other side of the room. Fing is an absolutely lovely girl. She's Ellie's daughter, so you've already met Ellie. And she gave me a little bit of a heart attack not so long ago. She's about 6 months, same age as Chocobo, and when we meet Tato later on, same age as her. And she's an absolute sweetheart. She's very licky. She's very like Monster in temperament, even though she's only Monster's half niece, if you can have such a thing. If you hear squeaks, Muggle Mug's harassing Luna. And Fing managed to, kind of 4, 5 months old, fall and break her arm quite badly. I do have some videos that I may turn into a video at some point when I get round to it, tracking what happened and a bit about the progress. But she's healed perfectly. I genuinely thought we might have to amputate her arm at one point because it was quite a nasty break. But she's healed and it's amazing, and I'm really proud of her. And you can see it's not really stopping her in terms of agility. Sorry, Mog was climbing up on something again. So she's a little bit of a live wire. She's a lovely agouti. I really like agoutis. These are actually my favourite varieties. And she carries what we call red-eyed dilute, which is topaz. So you saw Ellie before. I don't think I told you her variety. Here you go. Ellie's a topaz. So this is her mum. And because she's her mum, Luna's slightly lighter colour, not Luna, sorry, Fing is a slightly lighter colour than many. Oh, and we have another agouti. So I have 3 agouti top ears in total. They are the best variety. This is Tato. So Tato is cousin to Fing. She's actually from one of my other kind of litters. So I had the lovely Diddy, who gave me Ellie and Monster, and then her sister Beans gave me Waggle, who was Tato's mum. Sadly Waggle isn't with us anymore, but Tato is, and she's a lovely big long doe. She's probably going to be my biggest doe, I suspect, particularly once she has a litter, which she's due to have soon. She's another really steady doe. It's quite interesting. Most of kind of the Diddy downline, as I call it, are all a little bit nuts. The Beans downline is a lot more kind of steady and calm. It's interesting that Ellie, it takes a lot more after the Beans downline. In fact, her dad was from the Beans downline, and her daughter takes much more after the Diddy downline. So it's quite interesting watching the different kind of temperaments pass on. So Tato is lovely. She's just a really solid rat, and I think she's going to make an excellent mum. Her mum was one of the best mums I've had, and Beans, so both Waggle and Beans are excellent mums, and she's quite a nice kind of typey rat as well. Good long rat. Now I think that leaves my one rat that's not a member of the family that I've just spotted over there, so I'll be back in a second. Hey Looney. Right, here we go. So Luna is the only one of my rats that's not a kind of blood member of the family. She's very much a member of the family in her own right. Luna came from Halcyon Rats. She's a Russian Topaz Velvet. So Russian Topaz, handy. We have Ellie here. So if you look at those 2 different colours, they're very similar, but you'll notice that Luna is a slightly paler shade. That's because It's the Topaz Plush Russian Blue, so it gives it this slightly paler look. And if you also look, her fur looks a little bit fluffier, and kind of where Ellie's a bit shiny, Luna is more kind of matte. And actually when I stroke it, it strokes just the same backwards and forwards, and that's because she's a velvet. It's quite common in Russian Topaz. She's a little bit mortified by me showing you all this. But it's really quite pleasant, it's quite nice, even though she's not a young rat now. So Luna is, much like Monster, they're well over 18 months now, probably 19, 20 months now I'd say for them. And they are kind of lovely girls. They're on a little bit of extra food at the moment, and I'll probably do a video at some point about how to feed kind of older, slightly skinny rats, based on what I'm feeding these at the moment. But yeah, she's a lovely girl. She's very opinionated when she wants to be. Once she accepts somebody or something into her group, she adores them. Until she does that, she will beat the poor little baby rats around the cage. But once she kind of settles, she's actually really good. But thankfully she's not male, so she had a short stint at it and she couldn't deal with the responsibility. She wanted to kick everybody around the cage because that's what she thought she had to do. She's a lot more settled now. Monster is alpha, and it's funny when you're kind of talking about rat hierarchies. In fact, I could easily do a whole kind of video on that too, but it's lovely watching, and that's partly why I really like my kind of big group. It's not as obvious with girls, and it's also a lot more fluid than people think it is. I will definitely do that topic. But yes, so I think that's all my girls. I think I've covered everyone. Oh, I should add Luna, wherever she's run off to, is Halcyon Luna C as her show name. And we have Tato is Isamu Hot Potato. I like doing show names. I love naming my rats. I don't keep many rats relative to kind of most breeders, so I take great pleasure in coming with all of their names. To be honest, some of the best names that I've come across have been like on the show circuit as well, as some people really put in some great thought, and it's quite amusing. But it's quite nice to have two names. My one rule is I have to have the pet name contained in the show name, because otherwise I can't remember it, and then they'll announce something at the show and I haven't realised that I've won something. It has happened, so this works quite well for me. Of all my rats, they all actually come along to shows mostly now. Monster and Luna have retired, so once my rats get to a certain age, they no longer go to shows, and actually if they decide they don't enjoy them, they don't go to shows. But currently all the rest of my girls are enjoying themselves at the shows and getting quite a lot out of it, so if you see me at a show, I'll probably come with my girls. I hope to see some of you actually. Oh, I should probably add, as well as kind of being involved in the fancy and the club side of things, I also judge. So I judge pets, which only NERS and the Scottish NFRS shows have like a training scheme for their pet judges. So I kind of qualified on the NERS Pet Judges training scheme, and actually ran it for a while. And I've also passed as a varieties judge for the NFRS, which means I can do varieties judging at any show. It's quite interesting. I might try and do a video just explaining the different types of judging in case anybody's interested in showing one day. In fact, I think I owe the NERS publicity person a couple of videos for NERS actually on that. And I judge agility, which you don't really need to be qualified to do, to be honest. I just really like doing agility. It's very amusing. The rats sometimes do what you ask them to do. They sometimes do the entire opposite, but generally as long as they enjoy themselves, it doesn't really matter. Trying to think, there's probably not much else actually. I'm sure there are other things that I could bore you with, but I talk far too much. You may have noticed this on the videos by now. I tend to waffle. I also should add, I don't watch these videos back. I can't stand seeing myself or hearing myself on videos, so if they're a bit crap, I do apologise. And they're not particularly well edited, I suspect, either, because I don't really know what I'm doing with YouTube channels or videos or anything like that. But what I will say is I really welcome your ideas, so if the topics you particularly want me to have a chat about, I will do my best. Some topics I try and save until I've got like a particular example in the group, so particularly some of the health stuff and the breeding stuff I'll be saving until I've actually got examples in the cage, because a physical example is a lot better than me talking about it. But I definitely encourage you to suggest topics that you really would like to know about, and I'll do my best to fit them into a video. My aim with this channel is to try and release a video a week. I try and aim for the video to be something factual, so if I do anything kind of a bit fun or such, I'll try and make it more than one that week. But we shall see, because life does tend to get in the way with these kind of things. So I'll do my best to keep up that schedule, and hopefully you'll keep on watching. Thank you, and I hope you have a good evening.